I'm going to show you the exact cost of moving from Canada to Australia on a working holiday visa. I'll also show the difference in cost between a solo traveler and then a couple. Keep in mind I did move to Australia 11 months ago, but I have adjusted the figures in this video to reflect the accurate costs now in 2023. The current cost of the visa is $635. They recently raised this price by about 150 Australian. I believe it costed us only about 495 in 2022. This visa is a 12-month visa and will require renewal each year you plan on staying past the first. You can do this for a total of up to 3 times. $635 for the first year, $1,270 if you were to do 2 years, and $1,905 for all 3 years. Our total flight costs was 2,450 Australian dollars. This will entirely depend on where you are departing from, but for us, we flew out of Toronto, Canada. We had to move to far north Queensland to complete our visa work requirement, and we chose Townsville. To fly from Toronto to Townsville, it took us approximately 30 hours of flights over the course of 3 days. We also booked the cheapest one-way tickets that we could find. Depending on the time of year and which part of Australia you travel to will severely impact the cost of your flights. Prepare to budget anywhere between $1,200 to $2,500 per person for a one-way ticket. Shop carefully, check frequently, and look out for deals and try to be flexible with your dates. We prepaid our first 10 days of stay in Australia for $580. Our first night was a 4-star hotel in Brisbane, which costed us $130. We were jet-lagged and exhausted from the previous 2 days of non-stop travel and sleeping in planes. The hot shower and comfy bed was a godsend. We then prepaid a room on Airbnb for the next 9 days, which costed us the remaining $450. It wasn't glamorous, but it bought us enough time to find some long-term accommodation. Between Uber and the 2 SkyTrain tickets we had to buy in Brisbane, we spent 95 Australian total. This was strictly back and forth from the airport to our hotel and our Airbnb. Once we settled in, we rented a e-scooter pass for 33 Australian, and that allowed us to get anywhere we need to in the city. Food costs are highly variable. We budgeted around $100 per day until we arrived at our Airbnb. That was about $200 or $300 while we were traveling, just because you don't really have any kitchens and all of your food pretty much has to be takeout. After that, we changed it to around $100 per person per week once we had access to a fridge and a kitchen. You'll want to budget around $50 per month per person. When we arrived at Brisbane's airport, we found a Vodafone booth that offered a SIM card with 250 gigs of data and unlimited everything for 45 Australia. We didn't have reliable Wi-Fi. This was a great opportunity since there is no restrictions on hotspot or data sharing. There are plenty of plan options for cheaper with less data, and there's also more reliable networks at a higher price point. But for our needs, this was plenty fine, and we did not have any issues with our service. Travel insurance can be important if you have layovers with self-connecting flights, which means that you're responsible if there's any delays or cancellations. Health insurance is also crucial if you're from a country that doesn't share a Medicare program with Australia. Avoid international SIM card use. This can be around $5 per day or more. And ensure you suspend your previous number from your home country or just cancel it entirely so that you're not double paying on phone bills. International fees on credit cards and bank accounts should be watched pretty carefully, as these can be anywhere between 2 to 4% of every purchase. And also, if you're taking out cash prior to traveling, I highly recommend doing it at your local bank, just so you can avoid high exchange fees at the airport or private exchanges around the airport. In total, we spent about $4,700 over the 2 weeks between leaving Canada and finding residence in Townsville. This encapsulates all of the expenses for a couple, and I estimated the cost for a solo traveler to be around $2,665. And this is because accommodation would still be roughly the same, where all the other expenses would be cut in half. Costs will vary depending on your preferences and approach to travel. This is of course just our experience and our costs to relocating to Australia. I encourage you to do your own research and due diligence before making such a large decision.